Safety in the Workplace from Nonotuck Resource Associates. Welcome, and thank you for taking this training. Today we will be discussing how we got here, agency policies and procedures, the stress model of crisis, assessing the situation, triggering an escalation, how to respond using intervention techniques, and we'll wrap things up with a quiz at the end. How we got here. As of February 2015, new laws and EOHHS regulations have required agencies to adapt and implement safety protocols and policies to prepare for and address crisis situations. These laws and regulations were motivated by a DCF employee who was killed during an on-site visit by a resident of the house. Though she had been there many times before, she was not found for a whole day, and her death went unreported to her family for an additional day because of improper protocols by the agency and lack of employee identification and information. EOHHS Safety Training. Follow the link below to access the EOHHS Safety Training, or use the click path below to access the training on Nonotuck's server. First, click on the Common folder and access Human Resources. You will then see Workplace Violence 2015 and a document that says how to access EOHHS Safety Training. Since 2015, Nonotuck has developed and implemented numerous policies, trainings, and violence emergency response plans, including ID badges, emergency contact information, posting schedules in offices, and the topic of safety has become a regular agenda item on committees. Policies and procedures. The following policies can be accessed by clicking the hyperlinks below or in the Common folder of the server under Human Resources Safety in the Workplace Training Materials. Zero Tolerance Policy, Weapons Policy, Violence Prevention Intervention Plan, Incident Forms for DDS, AFC, and Workplace Violence, Action Plan Follow-Up Table, Workers' Comp, Safety Policy, and Safety in the Homes Policy. Here you will find Nonotuck's Zero Tolerance Policy. And here you will find Nonotuck's Weapons Policy. Below, you will find Nonotuck's Violence Prevention Intervention Plan continued on the following page. Reporting incidents, people served. Incident forms for people we serve. Incident forms for people we serve should be completed when any incident considered critical by the agency's contractor or regulatory entity takes place. This includes death of a person served, ER visits, unplanned hospitalizations, serious injury, injuries of unknown origin, fires or other serious environmental hazards, infestations, heating issues, sexual involvement between people served and staff, restraint, abuse reports, any need for evacuation, suicide attempts, police involvement, homicidal gestures or threats, physical assault or alleged physical assault, and unusual community involvement that puts them at risk. The following are the steps that should be taken when completing and filing an incident report for DDS, ABI, and MFP. First, the shared living provider reports the incident to the Nonotuck staff. Nonotuck staff then notifies their DDS service coordinator and completes the incident report on EOHHS. Next, the Nonotuck director finalizes the incident report on EOHHS. And lastly, the incident report is closed on EOHHS by DDS. Here's an example of the DDS incident reports form. Follow the link below to access the full version of the form, or access it on the server using the following click path. Go to the Common folder and go into Human Resources. You will then see Safety in the Workplace Training Materials, and in there you will find the DDS Incident Report form. The following are the steps that should be taken when completing and filing an incident report for AFC. First, the caregiver reports the incident to Nonotuck staff. Nonotuck staff then notifies the director and completes the report. The Nonotuck director then notifies AFC contact person of critical incidents. Last, the Nonotuck director reviews and signs the report, making sure all reports follow internal reporting requirements. AFC reporting. For members receiving AFC services, be sure to email a copy of your incident report to Kitty and the QE team at incidentreportsafc@nonotuck.com upon completion. Determination regarding follow-up will be made by Kitty and the QE team. This could be immediate, within a week, or at a monthly meeting with each office. Here is an example of the AFC Incident Reports form. Follow the link below to access the full version of the form, or access it on the server using the following click path. Go to the Common folder and go to Human Resources. You'll then see Safety in the Workplace Training Materials, and in there you will find the AFC Incident Report form. For additional assistance on completing and submitting incident reports in EOHHS, visit ddslearning.com/EOHHS-training. Reporting incidents, employees. Action Plan Follow-Up Table Form. The Action Plan Follow-Up Table form should be completed if the following occurs: death of an employee, intern, or volunteer, serious injury or medical condition that necessitates emergency medical intervention, any serious medical condition that may not have received proper medical treatment. This includes apparent intentional self-mutilation. Any hazardous environmental conditions that cause disruption, such as lice, food contamination, sexual involvement between staff and a person served, and any report of abuse filed against an employee, intern, or volunteer. Fires at Nonotuck facilities. Any allegations of arrest for criminal behavior, including staff, interns, or volunteers. This also includes substance abuse while on duty. Any homicidal gestures or threats made by or against a staff, volunteer, or intern. Any physical assault or alleged physical assault, staff to staff. And any incidents involving staff unusual community involvement and or potential to place the organization or its employees at risk. This includes legal, physical, or political. Here is our Action Plan Follow-Up Table form. To access this form, go to the Common folder of the Nonotuck server and access Human Resources. You will then see a folder titled Safety in the Workplace Training Materials, and in there you will see the Action Plan Follow-Up Table form. Workers' Comp, First Report of Injury. Employees must report a workers' comp injury as soon as possible to HR. If the employee needs to, he or she should seek medical care, preferably at a local occupational health center. HR will then report the claim to the insurance company. All medical paperwork, for example, the doctor's notes, etc., related to the treatment of the injury should be forwarded to HR as soon as possible. Here is an example of our workers' comp form continued on the following page. This form can be accessed under Human Resources within the Common folder of Nonotuck server. Important information. If an injured employee seeks medical care, he or she should not be using their regular health insurance coverage. The employee should inform the provider that his or her injury is work-related and is covered by workers' compensation insurance. Workers' compensation policy information is on the WC injury form the employee completes. The employee should make a copy for his or her records. If an injured employee needs a prescription filled for treatment of a work-related injury, he or she should inform the pharmacy that the prescription is for a work-related injury and provide the pharmacy with workers' comp insurance policy information. Most major retail pharmacies, for example, CVS or Walgreens, will direct the bill to Nonotuck's insurance company and not expect the employee to make any payments when the prescription is filled. Here is Nonotuck's safety policy continued on the following page. This policy is to help ensure that employees and visitors are safe and healthy while at agency offices here at Nonotuck. The policy can be accessed under Human Resources within the Common folder of Nonotuck's server. Safety in the Homes policy. Here is Nonotuck's Safety in the Homes policy continued on the following page. This policy is to help ensure that people receiving supports and services and their providers are safe while at home. This policy can be accessed under the Human Resources within the Common folder of Nonotuck's server. Reality check. Workers that practice good casework skills can diffuse most crises and deliver services without jeopardizing the worker or other people's safety. Values go a long way. Dignity, respect, and civility. Carry and practice these values and you will be able to diffuse most crisis situations. Ways to avoid and minimize risk during crisis situations. Objectives. To identify potential safety issues. To recognize the 3 levels of awareness necessary when working on potential dangerous situations. To relate the 4 phases of crisis. To develop skills to utilize in crisis situations. To relate some techniques to avoid dog bites. And to describe the process reporting a safety incident. A crisis occurs when a person is unable to cope with a situation, resulting in a change in behavior. There are 2 goals of crisis intervention, short-term and long-term. Short-term includes supporting environmentally and emotionally to reduce stress and risk. Long-term includes teaching people better ways to cope with stress. Assessing the situation for a potential crisis includes learning how to understand our responses to potential danger, understanding the responses of our teammates, understanding what is going on for the person served, what is going on for their family, and learning how to assess the physical environment. Understanding the 2 forms of aggressive behavior. Proactive aggression, which is learned, is instrumental or operant aggression. It is goal-oriented, and it is where cognitions are dominant. Reactive aggression, on the other hand, almost always has observable antecedents. Here, anxiety builds without enough coping skill interventions. Think of the drops of water in a glass metaphor, where the drops is our aggression building, and systematically pouring these drops out are our coping mechanisms. If we let the glass fill up without establishing and practicing these coping mechanisms, the glass will overflow and outbursts will ensue. Reactive aggression is often found through effective or expressive aggression. There is a loss of control and emotional flooding. This may lead to a fight or flight response. Emotions are dominant with reactive aggression. Immediate response priorities during each phase of proactive aggression and reactive aggression. For proactive aggression, safety is number 1, as well as containment and negotiation, and engagement and reasoning. For reactive aggression, safety is still first, but we also want to think about understanding and support, and removal or reduction of the stimulus. How do people know you are getting angry? The following are internal and external reasons for getting angry. Internal can include sickness, lack of sleep, hormones, emotional issues. Where external can be your favorite shirt being dirty, no milk, no hot water for the shower, running late, overslept, or lack of choice and control. Some visible signs of anger include breathing changes, voice changes, tone and volume, blood pressure, and certain movements that slow down or speed up. The following are techniques that many of us use to cope with stress and calm down: meditation, walking and exercise, showering, listening to music, going for a drive, talking, yelling, processing, spending time with our pets, cleaning, and eating. Think about the ways you cope with stress. These coping mechanisms are the same for all people, regardless of their abilities or disabilities. Personal space boundary factors. Personal space boundary factors are individual preferences that affect the way we cope and set boundaries. These include culture, how close you should stand next to somebody, eye contact, tone of voice, etc. Size, tall versus short, large versus small, power and size. Relationship, pre-existing relationship versus not knowing someone at all. Gender, men versus women, handshakes versus hugs, gender assumptions. History, personal history, history of a culture, language of a culture. And mood and stress level, which are the emotions you're feeling in the moment. 4 levels of personal space in the United States. Number 1, intimate space, 0 to 1 arm's length. These are for people you know well. Number 2, personal space, 1 to 2 arm's length. These are acquaintances and regular interactions. Number 3, social space, 4 to 12 feet, group settings. These are people you know, others you don't know, in social settings. For example, bars, clubs, and parties. Number 4, public space, 12 feet and more, used for public settings with strangers you don't want to interact with. Be aware of proximity and how these can change in the moment, depending on someone's stress level. Remember the drops of water in a glass metaphor from earlier. Triggers. Triggers can instantly cause fight or flight response, or they're the last straw / drop of water that causes the glass to overflow. Triggers. Never touch an angry and potentially violent person. Avoid any aggressive moves and provocative statements. Remove others who might trigger the violence, and understand body language is critical. 3 levels of awareness. The 3 levels of awareness are self-awareness, environmental awareness, and awareness about the potential aggressor. You are part of the environment. What am I feeling now? Be selective about personal disclosure. Anger can undermine objectivity. Anger is an emotional and physical state. Cognitive abilities are reduced. What are their overall needs? And what is the best response I can give? Center yourself and be calm, direct, non-confrontational. Use active listening in early stages, minimizing triggers, and removal of stimuli. Stay calm and direct and provide active environmental control. No more talking in later stages. When we are angriest, we become overwhelmed and make poor decisions. Remember your triggers. Use your own coping skills. You are part of the environment. Remember your body language, communication style, and dress. Appropriate dress and potential hazards. Shoes and clothing can hinder your ability to move fluidly and react quickly if needed. Scarves can be grabbed. Lanyards can also be grabbed. Jewelry can be grabbed and be a trigger for violence. Environmental awareness. Use the tools available to keep you as safe as possible. Your supervisor and team should know your schedule. Use the boards and methods set up in your office. Let people know if you are visiting an area outside normal work hours. Use your cell phone. Someone should know your planned arrival and departure time, a time by which to check in with you if they have not heard from you, and use your office sign-in and sign-out sheets. Environmental awareness continued. Is the place you're visiting a high-crime area? If there are any safety concerns with the neighborhood you are visiting, discuss with your supervisor and make plans. For example, earlier appointments, changing the date, or visiting in teams. When selecting a car to use in the field, consider the following. Is it in good driving condition? Does it have enough gas? The license plate, make, model, and color of the vehicle you are driving should be on record in the emergency file. Consider placing valuables out of sight, parking in well-lit visible areas. Don't get out of the car if you don't feel safe. Make sure you park legally, and park in a place that is easily moved so you don't get blocked in. Know the people you are visiting. Make sure you know the person served, member, caregiver, and family members that will be present at your visit. Is this a high-risk situation? Is there a history of violence? Is there substance abuse history? Or guns in the home? Is there past criminal history? Is there mental illness present? Consider ways to remove yourself, and work with your team and have a plan about how you're interacting before you go. In the community at a person's home. Establish the goal of the visit with your home visit notes. Assess the physical space. Know the exits. Keep a clear path to the exit door. Know everyone in the home. Be aware of pets and animals. Be aware of weapons. Have the ability to move quickly if needed. Ask for permission to enter a bedroom or bathroom, and enter it only if you feel safe. And always respect their personal space. In the office, be aware of objects in space, locations of exits, fire extinguishers, first aid kit, safety committee members and emergency coordinators, loud and escalated sessions, how to get help, and know the people you work with. Crisis intervention techniques. Identify yourself and your agency. Explain your reason for being there. Explain your responsibilities to each other, co-workers, the person served, the people who are important to the people served, keeping their lives whole, meeting standards in order to provide needed resources. Inform the person, co-worker, parents, family members, people served, of their rights. And lastly, let people know you understand their feelings. Crisis intervention techniques. Don'ts. Don't appear afraid or unsure of yourself. Don't appear bossy, arrogant, nor assume an I don't give a damn attitude. Don't become defensive. And don't take people's anger as a personal attack. The 4 phases of crisis. Phase 1, anxiety phase. The anxiety phase is an autonomic body response where speech changes and motor activity is affected. Working skills during this phase include understanding culture, being empathetic, building rapport, practice active listening, and being supported. Crisis intervention techniques. Project a calm, assured feeling that you will see the situation through to a peaceful end no matter what happens. Don't continue to push the person for specific answers if the questions tend to increase anger. And don't corner the person physically or psychologically. The 4 phases of crisis. Phase 2, defensive phase. People begin to focus on feelings and behavior. People are less able to hear and process what you're saying. Your body language and tone of voice are most important here. People will begin pushing your buttons, and they will challenge your authority. Defensive phase interventions. Take control by setting limits. Be aware of your body language, tone of voice, facial leakage, and stance. Turn sideways to protect your vital organs from being exposed. Be strong and fluid in movement, and be in a safe spot in the space. The 4 phases of crisis. Phase 3, aggression phase. The aggression phase is the phase in which the person will discharge their tension. Worker skills during this phase include observation. Is there a dramatic change in behavior? Are they hyperactive? Are they experiencing shortness of breath? Has their posture changed? Are they clenching their jaw or fists? Do they have a fixed stare? And has their tone of voice changed? Verbal and nonverbal communication. Tone, volume, and cadence. These matter the most in the aggression phase. Content, actual words, ceases to have meaning in the middle of this phase. If a dramatic shift happens, terminate the interview as calmly and quickly as possible. Terminate in a way that will not embarrass the person. Get away as soon as possible and take actions to ensure your safety. The 4 phases of crisis. Phase 4, tension reduction phase. Tension reduction phase is characterized by a noticeable decrease in the tension level. 90 minutes of adrenaline in all parties involved in crisis can be actively triggered by a single drop of water in their glass. Despite looking calm, the glass remains full. Intervention strategies. Give people space, remember to be calm, assertive, and avoid triggers, and process the incident after 90 minutes. Priorities toward managing aggressive behavior. Proactive and reactive. For proactive, teach appropriate thinking, values, and social skills, and reward socially appropriate behavior, not antisocial behavior. For reactive, teach coping skills, teach self-regulation skills, and anger management as well. Canine considerations. The following are dog safety tips to remember. Dogs bite. Getting bit hurts. Any dog can bite. Look for signs of a dog before entering the yard. Don't surprise a dog. First whistle, tap, or call it. Canine approach techniques. Take off your sunglasses. Stand still and let the dog approach you first. Stand sideways. Speak softly. Don't stare at the dog's eyes. And observe the dog's body language. Canine protection techniques. Don't turn your back. Use firm commands. Give the dog something other than your hand to bite, and don't run unless you think you can win the race. Defense against dog attacks. Maintain a self-defense stance. Yell. Shield your neck and face. Feed the dog your notebook. And consider the vulnerable parts of a dog, such as the nose, throat, chest, and ribs.